Well, hello everybody, good evening, and welcome to God knows how many series we've done so far, but I will count next time and I'll let you know. So good evening, I hope everybody is tuning in. If you aren't, please share. It's a good time to join us. This is Less is More team. For those who don't know me, my name's Neelam. I'm 𝐾𝐲𝐿𝐴. I'm based in the UK and I am part of Team Less is More. And with me, I have my amazing team. And we have Ami from India. Going to give us a quick wave. We have Paula from South Africa. And we also have Tammy. Now, Tammy is now joined us officially as Team Less is More. So, woohoo! Welcome, Tammy. Welcome, Tammy. And we have our special guest today, David Espinosa. Please, David, if I have pronounced that incorrectly, please correct me. I mean, everyone always teases me, you got the British accent. It doesn't sound like how you should pronounce the name. But anyway, welcome. So today we are talking about green flags. And then a lot of people were like, Neelam, you're talking about green flags? And the only thing they could come up with countries was like, no, not that kind of green flags. I'm on about things that happen in our dancing, things that we want to see, positive conversations, meaningful conversations about changes that we want to see prominent within our dancing. And it got me thinking, not a lot of people are dancing anyway, and so why are we doing these live talks? Well, these live talks are here purely because none of us are really doing what we enjoy the most, which is around dancing or going out socially or even teaching. And so we decided to change the script on that one. We saw a lot of people at home. It was quarantine times. There's a lot of people out there who needed conversations and so on. So we started something, just casually did Less is More live talk. And then out of that spun lots of conversations. And we've been trying to tackle some of these conversations by introducing a lot of guest speakers globally, internationally, and inviting them in to give us their stance. Because I believe if we're going to do dance, it's not going to just be in one country. It's got to be united around the globe. Now, I did mention earlier on that we have a new member with us, and that's Tammy. Now, part of Tammy's initiation was her wanting to do a poem. So we're going to take a moment and we are going to listen to a lovely poem that Tammy has created for us. Over to you, Tammy.
Thanks, Neelam. So I don't know about everybody else, but I definitely am having withdrawal symptoms from not dancing. And I came upon this poem, and I just thought I'd share it today because it absolutely takes me back to times when I felt most at ease and in my element. And I suppose as things are starting to open up, and I think part of this this discussion looking at green flags is looking at the positive side of dancing. So it's called A Dance of My Own. Spinning and twirling, round and round, a skip, a gallop, a leap and a bound. Into the air, on a full head of steam, away I go. On the wings of a dream, to the special place where my spirit flies free, and never a clearer vision I see. Harmony in movement, passion and grace. In a flash I'm a dancer, in a magical place. A feeling more glorious I never have known than when I'm dancing a dance of my own. I don't know who the author is, unfortunately.
That was lovely, Tammy. And Tammy, I just want to say thank you so much and welcome to our team. Now, if any of you have been watching our lives, you'll notice that Tammy has been with us before. And Tammy is a trained psychologist and she runs a page called Span Psych. And you can follow her on Span Psych. Definitely, we'll put it in comments. We'll put her page there so you can definitely follow it. Ah, there we go. It's here, Span Psych. You can see it at the bottom. Brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Paula. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay, in true style, you're probably thinking, where's the competition, Neelam? Well, what can I say? You snooze, you lose. we've been doing competitions from day dot, and a lot of you have missed out on some incredible gifts, but don't despair, at some point we will return. But today is our final cut-off with our gifts for this time round. So I'm going to hand it over to Ami, and Ami's going to take it away with our last winner from the previous competition. Over to you, Ami.
Hi everyone. So yes, we're sad to let go of the competitions, but yeah, we have had a good run with a lot of amazing sponsors supporting Less is More, and we collectively aim at supporting and promoting small businesses, and it was a good platform for all these small businesses who've got really amazing creative products on their websites for you guys to enjoy. So hope you've liked all the competitions so far. So announcing the winner from last week, last live talk. First we'll talk about the sponsor of the prize. We had a gift hamper by 𝐼𝐴𝐻, and it had this goodie bag of crystals and healing salts and incense sticks and everything. It was a very nice pamper yourself gift hamper. So thank you 𝐼𝐴𝐻 for sponsoring Less is More contests, live talk contests, and thank you for your support. And the winner from last week, 𝐲𝐶𝐻 Leche, I don't know what that I am definitely sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. 𝐲𝐶𝐻 Leche, if you're watching, this is you were our winner last time. Please do connect with us. We will get in touch with you, put you through to 𝐼𝐴𝐻, and then you can claim your prize there. 𝐲𝐶𝐻 Leche, congratulations, you were the winner last time. Yay. So moving on to our really amazing, really important talk of tonight, green flags. So please, requesting everyone to comment in our live section. Bring your thoughts, bring your suggestions, bring in whatever you feel like into the comments and let us know. We've got some amazing guests that we can talk about it. We'll pick them up. What you've noticed good about your existing dance scenario and what you would like a more positive change. What things would you like to make it more positive, make it more inclusive, make it more harmonious, safe, everything. So today is all about the positives, all about green flags, best practices. Over to you, Neelam.
Thank you so much, Ami. Congratulations, 𝐲𝐶𝐻 Leche. Is it 𝐲𝐶𝐻 Leche? So congratulations to you. All right, so welcome back to me again, right? So yes, what Ami is saying, we are going to be talking about the good stuff. I think for many weeks we've been trying to uncoil a lot of the information out there, all the negative information that's been floating around. Why? I'm going to be really frank. I think a couple of months ago there was a huge controversy over many unfortunate incidents that had occurred, and there were lots of names being branded out there, and what it got us thinking about is not about divorcing one another from these situations, but is how do you move forward? How do you get to the point where there is some harmony? I think that's a really key word here, is how do we get to a point of harmony? And it made us connect with a lot of people around the world, people who were concerned about what was going on in specifically in the Kizomba environment, because that's the dance that we do. But this is not just about the Kizomba environment. I think this is very global and very much in every dance genre out there. And so then I got to making contact with people, and just people are very active, people who have a stance, people who have a voice, people who are very visible. And it got me in contact with David Espinosa. And so we wanted to say, like, welcome, David. It's really, really grand of you to join us. And folks, he's joining us in his lunchtime. I mean, that's commitment for you, right? So thank you so much for that, David. and welcome. So I did mention earlier on, David is from Toronto. He teaches Kizomba and Semba, but by day, it's almost like at night he's a vampire or something. But by day, 9 to 5, he is an engineer. So David, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, I know you said you're from Peru, you moved over to Canada. Please let us know a little bit about you. What do you want the world to know about David?
Well, first of all, like, thank you for the invitation. I think it's a pleasure to be here and sharing the panel with all of you, ladies. Something about me. Okay, so normally put in the spot with this question, but I could say that I born and grew up in.
Tell us your favorite lipstick color.
Red, but unfortunately I ran out of it, so I don't have any right now.
David, tell us a little bit, maybe if I give you a bit of direction, tell us a little bit about how you are when you come to teaching Kizomba and Semba. At some point, I think, and this is goes for everybody who's new when they're an instructor, you go in with fresh eyes and you can almost see everything that's going on until you get involved in it. You know, it's like being outside of the window and you see everything that's going on. And once you step inside, it's very unclear because you're now part of that. You're part of everything that goes on in that environment. What was your initial thoughts when you first walked into an Kizomba environment?
That brings me back to probably 2011, 2012, when you just put in Google or in YouTube Kizomba, the first couple that you see is Elvira and Sarah. And then I was like, wow, this is Kizomba. This is something that it looks like a nice dance. It looks like something that I can catch up very quickly, because the way that they were dancing at the time, to be honest, that was not very technical or complicated. So that was kind of like my first inspiration to go to learn Kizomba. And in less than a year, I was flying from Canada to my first Kizomba Congress. And it's there when I actually discovered what Semba was. And then I was, holy smokes, this is more complex than just standing there and moving your partner's hips or something like that. So I think that was like a huge discovery. And it's around those years that I encounter many, I would say, like people from the Palop community, whether if it was Eddie or Tekash or other teachers around.
Many artists that have actually influenced you to do that. I absolutely agree. Yeah. I mean, there's always got to be someone that you see who's probably had more videos out there, and they're going to be your signpost. So thanks very much for that, David. I just remembered, before we move on, because we want to talk about stuff that can be quite challenging for others to hear sometimes, or it could be that maybe people really hear this and they think, yeah, those are the answers. We want to put a disclaimer out before we continue. And it just takes a few minutes, David, so if you just bear with us, we're just going to put out a disclaimer and allow everybody to read the disclaimer. Take a few seconds, folks, and just read this. We're not claiming to be the know-it-alls here, but we do, between all of us, have a wealth of knowledge and advice and guidance that we can give and offer you all. Whether you choose to take that or not is entirely up to you, but do have a read of this. All right, super. Thanks very much for that, Paola. Really appreciate you putting the disclaimer up there. Okay, so David, just want to go back to you. Yeah, I'm off mute. Okay, so David, right now, I think whether we like it or not, some of us, COVID has been a bit of a blessing. It's given us time to have some introspection about where we are, how we've been rushing, and we've slowed down and really looked at ourselves. We've looked at what we've been doing, what we would like to do further. Some of us have decided maybe teaching is not the way to go, and they've gone into another direction. But part of that is because there just seems to be a lot of negativity that's gone on in the dance environment. What constitutes a healthy environment. In the UK specifically, we have started a couple of us artists, our instructors, we've got together and we're formulating a code of conduct, some flyers, and we've also started to look at contracts for promoters, artists, DJs, and so on. And I think that's important. I mean, that's crucial that we are unified in this process, and that we are also singing from the same hymn sheet to tell the world about how and what a healthy environment looks like. I know we've all got some really good advice on how we can make our environment safe. But let's start with some basics. I mean, I can touch on one about when I'm in an environment. I like to know one thing. If I'm in a place that I've never been to before, everybody's going, and I decide I want to turn up and I want to dance there. The one thing I would like to know is, would I be safe to know that there is someone I can approach? So that safe person, that buddy system, is that the one thing that I think will be really beneficial for me? Yes. I need to be able to go to somewhere to know that the promoter is approachable, the taxi dancers are approachable, there is someone who's at the front desk who's approachable, everyone who assures me that that's a safe environment to be in, and I think that's, for me, is a key thing if I was to go. I'm going to ask you the same thing, David. From a man perspective, I think this is predominantly I don't know, I can't put a figure on it. I think, but most of the time, 80% of the time, it's a lot of women who seem to get a lot of advances, a lot of inappropriate behavior. There's been cases and so on. That's not to say to the audience that this doesn't happen to men, and I'm sure it does. I've also had men approach me and they've had the most inappropriate things done to them, and it's unfair as well. But David, from your perspective, as a male instructor, as a role model, to educate your students, because I think when we are teaching, we are a role model. The way we sit, we stand, we talk, the way we teach, people actually really take that away, and they emulate that because they want, and they take the good stuff out of that, but they also take the bad stuff, right? What do you do? What do you see for you in your environment when you're teaching as a healthy environment?
Well, one thing that it's interesting is that we all somehow, I think that we know that this is a familial dance. And we've been hearing this from many people and many of the Palop instructors that this whole dance, Kizomba and Semba, are familial dances. So we at least have that main concept in our heads. But we also need to realize that when you do dancing, you are basically having two different exchanges and moving forward the process of getting to know someone and just being into your personal space right away. I mean, if I don't know any person, whether if it's a male or a female, I will not get into your personal space. But with dancing, we're just jumping into each other's contact, chest to chest, I don't know, head to head, or my hands around your back or whatever. So we are kind of like fast forwarding that normal process of I'm gonna give you this confidence to be close to me little by little, and you just fast forward all of that. So I think that something that I like to pinpoint with my students is that, like, it's not only to know that this is a familial dance, it's also that you need to learn how to approach, when you approach someone, with the same intentions that you approach your family. And also trying to create, I would say, like a welcoming location like me for my female students to be able to say, you know what, I didn't like how this person touched me, or I felt disrespected in this way. So I don't necessarily put the guy in the spot because maybe he didn't know, or maybe he was unintentional, but maybe give back the feedback right away in the class as a general comment, so everyone understand what are the safe boundaries for each person. One more thing that,
it's interesting that you say that, David, about maybe the guy wasn't aware that they were doing something inappropriate. Now that came out quite often. That came out quite a lot in the conversations when this whole mess happened, that people were saying, oh, maybe they're not aware. Some of them said it was a cultural thing, which is absolutely bullshit. Sorry, I said that live. But yeah, it's like, it's a family dance. You're totally right. It's a family dance. This has got absolutely nothing to do with the culture. It has absolutely nothing to do with the dance. It's about someone's psyche here. And I'm just going to I think you've got a point you wanted to make. So please carry on.
Yeah, no, I can give you an example of that. I had one of my students that for some reason he was dancing, regardless how much I was trying to teach him, with his hips going forward. So every lady was telling me, this is kind of weird because every time I'm close to him, I'm having his hip going forward, even though you can say it in class many times, you need to ground yourself, you need to do this. The guy was going with the hips forward. So then I decided to make it an option and being me in the rotation as a follower to see how can I help him. And I think that based on jokes, I was trying to help him and saying, okay, look, you are going forward and I don't need to have a sword fight with you at this moment. You just need to remove your hips to one side or whatever. So the guy was catching up, but based on jokes and stuff like that. And I really don't think that he was trying to be intentional, because if his intention was only towards the females, he will not do the same with me as a male dancer. But he was unaware of his own movements in a way. And I was trying to help him that way.
That's really good. I think that's a really interesting point that you raised there. My team also are like they're all instructors at some point. I mean, if they're not instructors in one dance, they particularly are instructing something out there. So they all are creating a safe and a healthy environment. So I'm going to ask my team, and I'm going to go over to Paola first about asking her what she sees as a healthy environment. Without Paola, I know we could go on for a long time, but I'm trying to be careful that we try and stick within the hour. But please do give some couple of tips out there. And remember, audience, you can also give examples. We are keen to hear from all of you as well. I mean, we'll be picking up your comments, so please do send in your questions if you have any as well. But over to you, Paola. Please tell us what you think is a healthy environment.
Well, I think it takes a lot of mindset change and a lot of work. Probably I had a couple of conversations during this week, actually, about this, what we were talking about today. And my conclusion so far is that it needs I remember a sentence that Tammy said in the past talks that we had. Sometimes what we notice in the community, there is an issue of or fear of speak out for many reasons, from any kind of places. You are as a dancer, as an organizer, as an artist, a friend of the potential of the people who has been implicated in those issues. And for many reasons, people doesn't really speak out or say anything. And then Tati mentioned once that in those cases, somebody has to do it. And then I think the ones that we are here, for instance, discussing, me, I include myself, we are the ones to do that. When nobody else, and sometimes on their behalf. And I think there's the solution or the things that we can work on. It depends on the context that we are in, where I am, and I will want to hear also Tammy's opinion because we are living in the same country. I think it takes a lot of time and probably taking it with patience. Changes from within and from our closest communities and the closest people to us. And then from there, try to stimulate little by little and try to get acceptance, even if it's small, but it's still positive. Because at the end, probably we will face a challenge of rejecting or being neglected by the rest of the dance community. And I also think that when we cannot change something that is so big and that you sometimes feel almost giving up, that nothing is going to change, nothing is going to happen, then I think definitely we need to keep on moving on positive things, making awareness to the people, to the women, to the men in our dance communities, and try to let them know what it's good that we can do, that they can do, that you can do in order to take care of yourself. And sometimes also making awareness, make it a little of noise, and make it maybe a little bit of a hard time for those stubborn organizers that doesn't really want to help. And yeah, that's more or less what I think.
Paolo, you've got some really useful stuff there. Thank you so much for that. And these are constant conversations that we tend to have as a team. And the one thing that I really like that you just said, Paolo, and I want to cement that idea, is that sometimes it does feel like a lowly job. And I think that's why we have groups like Strength in Numbers. Recently opened one for men and women called Strength in Numbers for Men and Women. So please join that. And we have posts in there that kind of reaches out with this kind of information. So thanks very much, Paolo. But it is one step, one person at a time. I really do believe that. Over to you, Ami. Tell us your thoughts on this one, please. And remember, audience, tell us your thoughts too.
Yeah, I was as I was framing my thoughts, I have a comment from one of my very good friends. He's a famous DJ in India, one of the nicest guys here, and from Ankur, DJ AV. He goes by the name of DJ AV. He does mostly salsa bachata DJ, and he's getting into Kizomba DJing as well nowadays. He's a musician. And he says, fantastic point, David. The fact that the process of getting comfortable with someone is fast forwarded is exactly why the efforts taken to create mutual comfort also must be amplified and made more structured or obvious, I think. Yeah, that's why we, like David said, that, we have to educate and bring in more awareness in our classes. And at an organizing level, me as a dancer, if you ask me where would I really feel safe and comfortable and be able to, take the steps of fast forwarding into getting into a close, comfortable space, it would be with an organizer or with a dance teacher who is very solid on their, at least, if not an official code of conduct, but at least a personal code of conduct, Personally, if they, if you lead by example, right? You have to lead by example. If my teacher is being respectful, me as a teacher, if I'm treating my students with respect, they know how I behave in the dance floor. I see how my teachers behave on the dance floor, and that gives me an idea that yes, this feels right. I mean, few of the festivals that I have gone to, the places that I felt most safe were the ones where the organizers were not just, saying it in words that we ensure safety, but actually acting on it. They had well-defined procedures, they had consequences, they had volunteers at whom you could reach out to, trained volunteers. Like we have Tammy with us today to help us understand the psychological impact of all of this. So stuff like that where you have trusted, where you have an environment of trust that yes, if something happens to you, it will be taken care and people will not judge you for it, people will not let you go. And the other thing is that even men in the dance community, I think this is a point that I've mentioned in one of the previous talks, is that if you see somebody in trouble, just a simple hi, like, hey, hi, are you doing okay? Are you all right? Are you doing all right there? Would generally make a creepy person back off, So this is a point that I said earlier, and it was actually a point given to me by Ankur, by Avi at one point of time when we were discussing, a couple of years back actually, when we were discussing, code of conducts even in India. So we were saying that how we can even the smallest effort. He's like, when I DJ and from the console I get a bird's eye view of the dance floor and I keep a lookout. I'm DJing, yes, I'm busy, but I'm enjoying the music and keeping a lookout for those help me eyes. That's what he likes to call it. If they see that, they just like, hey, hi, how are you doing? What's up? Giving them a shout out or something just makes you feel that yes, you're seen, you're respected, and you will be saved if something does happen to you. But So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Ami. There is a level of every dancer that I've met who has some level of empathy inside of them, and I think those help me eyes. Everyone can pick up a sense of that in any dance environment. It's just so innate in every dancer that I've ever met. But yeah, I mean, some really good points there. Is there anything else you want to say before we...
Personally, for me, like a big green flag is somebody who can handle their drinks or does not drink at all. You know? For me, alcoholism is a very big red flag already. That's my personal opinion. But on the dance floor, especially for us teachers, for us organizers or DJs or anything, that is our workplace. So I don't think that, you know, if I'm really professional, if I'm really ethical and deeply passionate about that being my workplace, I will follow the same ethics that I would go do on a 9 to 5 job. You know, I will not turn up drunk there. You know, so it's the kind of that's already one of the very obvious ones. You know.
Thank David, do you drink while you're on the job? I mean, it is on the job, right? Do you drink while you're on the job? Just asking for a friend. in Canada. This is, by the way, cardamom tea.
Tea. No, I don't drink during the job. I mean, no. Just to pick up on Ami's point, it's interesting that you mentioned that about the try to make contact with the eyes and try to find out if someone is in need of help. I think that it just goes beyond just the DJ or the organizer. I remember in probably my first or my second Congress that I went to Europe, and I was dancing with this lady, never met her in my life. We were dancing, and we were probably dancing for half an hour. And it was very interesting that her friend was just going around, I guess, trying to look for all her, I guess, the group that she came with, and then just basically tapped her on the shoulder and told her, like, are you still okay? Because you don't know this guy. And she said, yes, I'm okay. I want to continue dancing. And we continue dancing after that. But I think it goes beyond just the DJ or the organizer. I think like none of us is going to go to a Congress by yourself. So it's almost like a communal task, and you need to check on your friends all the time and not just assume that they are doing just good.
Exactly. Because I think one of the conversations that we had was about, you know, if you are doing a private class with your students, I think there needs to be some kind of etiquette, some kind of professionalism. Don't do that in someone's bedroom. Okay, don't do that in someone's house. Hire a studio or at an event. Make sure it's monitored. Make sure it's in one of the halls or whatever. It's just simple, basic maths in that one, isn't it?
One other tip that was implemented, at least in the Toronto community for dancing, is that the first Kizomba event that we had and organized here, it was done for a few years on a basement with almost no lights, and you can see almost like a trend. Like you can see that there was much more. I would not call it like sexual assault, but there was a lot of intimacy happening. Like people was just having the idea that you're gonna come to this event just to grind on someone or have certain benefits and quotations. And we start seeing that people was feeling unsafe. It was moved right away to a different floor with full lights, and then the problem almost disappeared on the spot. Because at the end of the day, we're going there for dancing. We're not necessarily just going to be in a dark room. So I think it's a simple tip for any Congress or anything. You don't need to have a dark room there to dance Kizomba or any other dance.
Yeah, nothing family happening there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what family is going on there, but
yeah, this whole dark rooms, honestly. If you're watching, it's not called a dark room, by the way. Olu, you know me, bow tie guy, you know, right? It's not the case. If you're watching, can someone tag Olu? I want to give Tammy a moment. Now, I mean, all of us, we have some genuine concerns, and we have some genuine need to make sure that when we're out there, that we are giving our customers the best. Now, there is obviously a lot of stuff going on in someone's head, and I can't even begin to understand why. I can't even begin to understand predators and whatever you want to call them, monsters, whatever you want to call them, right out there. I really can't think of anything nice to say about them at the moment. But Tammy, like, explain to us. I mean, I'm going to raise something here. 9 times out of 10, you hear the guy saying, well, the woman kind of was coming on to me. It's that 𝐷𝐴𝐴𝐻 dance that brings people a lot more grindy, a bit more closer. And does it send off the wrong signals? You know, and if it's sending the wrong signals, what the hell's going on for people in that kind of environment? I mean, especially one that contributes to it is that they make the lights very dark. They put on music which is super slowed down, like baby making music. Sometimes it's just insane. You've heard of that terminology, but yeah, I mean, let's be honest. 𝐷𝐴𝐴𝐻 is known to awaken some demons and so on. So I don't know. Like, what's your take on this, Tammy? Explain to us. Give the audience something to understand what the hell is going on.
Sorry, just struggling to find the unmute button, but I think you raise a very important point. And we discussed it briefly in one of our previous talks, but I suppose for me as a dancer, because I'm not an instructor, but going into a dance scene, I think, I mean, boundaries are very important. We need to know what to expect. But in that, I think we need to do our homework as well to keep ourselves safe. And then to sort of check out the scene. You know, what I normally do is I look at where the social is being hosted, in what area, in what particular, if it's a club or a restaurant or wherever, and that sort of gives I find gives an indication of whether you're going to be put in or you're going to be in a situation where you're going to find yourself with in a room that's quite dark with baby making music. And I think if we understand the setting that we put ourselves into, that is a green flag. It creates a sense of safety. And I think, I'm not sure who had mentioned it, but so there's this cultural aspect to dancing as well. And I think in different dances, we do different things, with the Terashima, it is very up close, personal, sensual. And coming from a ballroom and Latin background, I was completely mortified when I saw that. But it's all about, for me, I had to think about, but what is the culture behind it? And once I started thinking about, looking at the history of the dance, it is actually not about grinding up against each other. So it's really what we make it out to be and how we experience it, how we think about it and make sense of it in our own minds. And I think one of the other guests had said, but yes, we need to be culturally sensitive, but we're there to dance. And I think what's also like a very big green flag for me is when you put it out there immediately, be it in your body language, be it how you approach people, how you respond when you approach people. But I think it's very important to set your boundaries from the beginning. And we can do that. I mean, like Amy said, if somebody's drinking, not going to happen. So I think, so there are a lot of green flags, and I really do think we need to look at the organizers and also what the attitudes are, and how they view dancing. And I think that has helped me keep me safe in the dance community. But I think, I suppose I'm curious as to what David's responses are, because I haven't experienced a guy on here, so I'm super excited. But perhaps he can also, give us some input on that. But I just want to say, a dance is really, really important for people. It's not just we're going out there, we're going to socialize. It helps us physically. It helps us emotionally. It helps us cognitively. If we look at what happens in the brain, it's absolutely fascinating what happens in the brain and which parts of the brain lights up when you are dancing. And it helps us it helps people understand social skills, and it helps us connect, it helps us express. So it's really very important that we have safe dance environments. And etiquette is very important. And I suppose we've had a lot of feedback around etiquette and how we as women experience it. But I think it's really important that we do not leave men out of these conversations. And I think that's, for me, why it's so exciting to have Dave on, so that we can have that perspective, because dance is a coping strategy for people. I mean, I think I probably shouldn't say this, but I had a patient in my office today, and they have withdrawal symptoms from dancing, you know, and because that is her outlet, and that is what her form of expressing herself. And she said to me, I can't, as an extrovert, how else? I can't use my words, so I use my body. And that's how I express myself. And that's why it's so important for us to have these safe dance environments. And I think we need to just be considerate of the other. And that, I love how you ladies have mentioned it, just that look. And you can see if somebody else is, in trouble, if they need help. And I think a good green flag is to be observant and to help each other out. And sometimes if it means that we need to squeeze in there as women, that's what we need to do. But we really need to, I think a big green flag is look at the little nuances, because there's a lot of little hidden, how can I say, my words are failing me. But there's a lot of little things that we sometimes miss because we're so busy trying to impress or get the move right, or we're just trying to survive the dance, because sometimes my heart beats fast and I'm like, oh gosh, I've never danced with this person, I don't know what to do, I don't know what their body feels like, because you're forced to dance, you're forced to be quite almost intimate very quickly. But yeah, I think it's about taking note of yourself and the other person, and I think that's probably the biggest green flag.
Awesome, thank you so much for that, Tammy. All of this self-awareness is coming to the front about awareness of ourselves. But what do you do with someone who has gone past that? There's been lots of incidents out there, clearly, with trickery, some kind of trickery that we've had, out there, and somehow they've fallen into these traps. But you mentioned about, women have these signs, but David, do men have these signs out there, like when they're in need of help? Have you ever had guys approach you and say, dude, this woman, she just won't stop, trusting her, herself on me? And I've had men come up to me and have women touch their behind, at the front, and you just think, that's incredible, really.
I had a few experiences like that, but I think that just because we're in the position of a leader, it's quite easy to change the dance from connection to disconnection, and that by itself breaks the advance of the other person. So regardless if a lady is trying to grind on me, I can just open up my position and then do a rule of three, a saída, whatever, and then problem solved. Or if she's, I had one incident, one lady that likes to keep her hand on my neck on the back and start giving me a massage, even though she wasn't a registered massage therapist. So it was just easy. I mean, just kind of like open, give her a turn, and then bring her back to the close embrace if you need it. But I think like as a leader, it's much more easier to kind of like get away of those situations. And when you're in the following perspective, is more complicated because you don't have kind of like liberty to kind of like create the move or initiate the move on a way.
Absolutely. I want to just go up. Thank you, David. I just want to go over to Umi, because I think she's saying there's some comments coming in that she would like to pick up on. And I'm mindful of the time. So over to you, Umi.
Yes, we have Folly mentioning a lot of comments here. One of her previous comments says, in fact, not just Folly, there was Shepi, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and Charlene, and many people saying one common thing is that the etiquettes need to be taught. We need to make sure that everyone is aware of these etiquettes. So I have a question in this, right? So you can teach these etiquettes, you can talk about these etiquettes in your class, right? So that's where the classes happen. Yes, the social boundaries and everything. You need to set the tone of healthy interactions, like Shepi mentions that. So we can do all of that in the class, and we create, in general, I'm talking about instructors who would create a healthy generation of dancers who go out to the dance floor, on the social dance floor, to dance. But what about I don't know if it happens anywhere else, but India, we have a lot of these dancers who learn on the social dance floor, who never bother to go to classes, and then they think, including women, men, not just men, women both, they think that they don't need to go to classes. They can learn enough and have fun dancing enough on the dance floor, on the socials and the parties and the festivals itself. They don't bother to know about the history and the culture. They don't bother to come to classes where we can expose them to etiquettes and proper boundaries and healthy boundaries and stuff like that. How do we handle, and I think, for me, I think the most of the unsafe advances that have been reported to me have generally come from people who have not been to any sorts of classes, or who are not have been regularly learning or really trying to understand the cultural and historical part of the dance form at all. So that is something that I've noticed. So how do you handle that? As an organizer, or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Should we throw that to the audience? Audience, how would you handle situations like that? I think it's important that we could all speak here. We've been talking about this for months and months, if not years and years. We've all been teaching it in our classes. But if we don't create this, if we don't create these, if we don't, sorry, we're like, if we don't create these, if we don't create the situation and have these discussions, no one's ever going to know. It's always going to be conversations behind a bike shed. It's always going to be conversations in your hotel rooms. No one's going to have these public conversations that what we're offering here right now, having these conversations, just putting things in place, so then and that leads me on to a lot of the questions about keeping healthy on social media, because that's the platform a lot of us are using now. Online classes are in, right? But that also plays has an effect. I've had a lot of people say, on classes you can learn and whatever, but it's not the same as going out and having to physically dance for someone. I know that's a completely different topic and whatever, but in terms of the bashing that's going on, how are we helping ourselves to create a healthy environment? I knew I was on it, social media, 24/7, 7 days a week, when we got into lockdown, and I swear to God, at some point I almost thought I was going to faint. My mental state was just like, I can't take this anymore. And then luckily, friends and family, they were just like, you need to back out of this, okay? If you can't make these changes, firstly, you've got to do what Tammy suggests, is internalizing, like looking at yourself, like self-awareness, taking note, finding out where you're feeling, how you're feeling at that point, and then dealing with it. And I want to ask the audience out there as well, please do share this in comments. Keep adding your comments, because this live, it stays. It's not going to get deleted. We're on YouTube, we're on this platform, Facebook platform. The comments stay. Let's generate a whole list of healthy things that we can have in our dance environments when we return to normal, whatever normal is right now, right? But I want to speak to you, David, because you're in Canada, and there was a big thing in Canada. I won't even mention his name, but I'm Neelam. Everyone knows I like to say a few things. So what's happening? That we all realise that the person is not acting like as if nothing's happened. Can we?
It's interesting, because you have in Canada, like I would say, like 3 different Kizomba scenes, if you want to put it like this: one in Vancouver, one in Montreal, and one in Toronto. And the person that we're talking right now is in the Montreal community. So at this moment,
can you tell that we're getting there? We're getting a bit more specific.
More specific, more geographically. We're using the GPS.
Geographically, people are working out, who is this person?
Yes, who is this person?
Who has now lately been doing lots of private classes and sharing them on Facebook and making it look like as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah, yeah. But what if something that's happening in the States and in Canada, it's like people is honestly organizing against this individual, following up with the even with the people that is renting the studios and saying, I seen groups and ladies from the USA like sending messages to the studio owners to say, look, this is a person with this kind of reputation. This may damage your image as a studio owner. We recommend you not to actually do business with this person. So, but I mean, he's taking the things like if nothing happens, I'm back into business.
Yeah, I hear you. And let's move over to US, because there's been an incident there where the person has literally gone into therapy right now. So, you know, let's call a spade and the stuff that is happening out there. We don't really know the full truth, but we do know that if anybody has anything against them, there must be elements of truth. It's not one person, it's several people saying the same thing from different continents. No one's ever spoken to one another. No one made this up. So there is something there, right? You know, and I think it's important that we recognize this and not call people troublemakers and not call people, hey, you know, this is just someone doing it because they don't want them to be that popular. I don't think so. Dude, this is a Kizomba environment. It's not going to make you millions, okay? We all know that. So get a grip on the fact that we're trying to diminish someone's reputation. Get a grip of that. Not happening. Not the case. What we're trying to do is to say, look, every one of us goes out there to dance for several different reasons, and you know, we're not there to judge anybody. We're there to create the environment they should be able to flourish in, to be nurtured in, to feel safe in, and help their mental state. We all come there to really like open ourselves up. And like you said, David, it's a fast forward process. We're not doing the courting, the dating, and the hey, what's your name, blah blah. You're never going to do that on the street. You're never just going to walk over to the side of the road, grab someone and start dancing. We miss all of those opportunities of getting to know someone. We go fast track straight into the dance, and that's it, you know. And so the audience, my lovely people out there all over, please do share this video. It's important that this video isn't shared, and it's important that you keep putting down your healthy comment of what you think makes a great environment to be in. And, you know, stuff to remember. David, give us one piece of advice that you will tell the audience out there that is a good thing to remember when you're out there, as, you know, just, you know, David, this is what you would do.
One thing that I say always to my students, especially to my female students, is that you are there for the dancing and you are trying to connect with the music and with the dance. You are not there to become an avatar and connect to the other person. You may have time outside of the dance scene to get to know this person. So an easy thing to do is just dance with the person or whoever is coming to ask you for a dance, but just dance for one song. Dance for one song, enjoy it. If you feel nervous that time, go again later during the night and ask the person for a second dance, but just keep it to one song, two songs. So then you are not into these situations where the person may like think that you are giving an advance to create and be disrespectful towards you. For the organizer,
that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's a very good, useful piece of advice. You know, there's no right and wrong. You can have several dances with one person, but at that point, you got to know the person. I think in order to tread carefully, like Tammy says, you know, we got to take, you know, you got to do your due diligence with each person as you go along and get to know them before you can decide you're going to have 5 dances or the entire night dancing with that person.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for that, David. I'm just going to ask you just to mute yourself because I think you're echoing, if you wouldn't mind. Tammy, I'd like you to give one piece of advice to our audience before we all go.
One piece of advice is to go and be you. Do you.
Love it. Do you, girlfriend, boyfriend, you do you. Thank you, Tammy. Paula, do you have one piece of advice you'd like to give the audience? Audience, you can also give advice too. What's your one secret tip?
I would say to, definitely own yourself. Be true to yourself. Keep loyal to your own thinking, values, and follow your intuition. Be super, super intuitive, and try to look for those people who bring you good and positive energy and feelings, and in the circle of community where you move.
That is beautiful. I get that. She's just saying, go with those that shine the light. Okay, be around those people that bring good energy. Excellent, thank you, Paula. And you, Ami, what's your advice, girlfriend?
Before I give my advice, I would like to pick up from the comments. The advice that is generally coming in is to learn about the culture, to learn about the history before, and appreciate it as a dance form, as an art form first, and then you can enjoy yourself even more. That's, I think, a very, very valid piece of advice, which is, I think, some my takeaway from all the comments that has come in tonight. And my advice would be, I think it's more applicable towards Asian women here, that do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. If there is an issue which has affected you, do not go back into your shell of fear. Talk to people, reach out to your girlfriends, tell others, warn others, tell the organizers. Even few organizers will support you, few will not, but do not lose your voice. You know, somebody is always listening. Even if you end up protecting or defending one person, that's good enough. But do not be afraid to speak out. Do not feel shamed. Do not feel judged, because the dance floor, the dance community is a place which is not supposed to be judgmental. So have that strength. Have faith in your sisterhood. Have faith in your brotherhood. Whatever that is.
Thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much. You all are incredible. Audience, you are incredible. I love the ones that come in regular. I like the new ones that come and join us. We're really new to live. It's not like it was our profession before. We've all started to learn about live and the tech and so on. We've learned to build the community with you guys, not alone. We've taken your advice, we've taken your feedback, and we've just thought, how do we make this work for everybody? This isn't just us, dressing up on a Friday, sitting here and talking into the screen. It's genuine that we want to create that new stuff, right? We want to get rid of the old, in with the new for the new year, right? When we get back to dancing. And I want to say thank you so much to David for taking the time David, you can unmute yourself, taking the time and just coming on your lunch break and doing this for us. I'm going to mute myself as an echo. Do you want to say any final words? Almost like it's his last rites. What are your last rites?
My last rites. Okay, so I would say that coming from a Latin culture, and probably Paola can back me up into this, when you go to dance salsa, for example, you learn about the steps, you learn about the community, the family dance, and any other thing. But you also learn, as a woman especially, that the moment that someone is disrespectful towards you, you can even slap the guy in the face on the spot. Nothing will happen and no one will say anything to this. So it's that part of now I'm not saying like the moment that you feel threatened and start slapping people in the dance floor. What I'm saying is that is part also of the cultural part of the dance, that you need to understand that you have that power, maybe not to slap the person in another country, but to at least go and voice yourself to say, here's an issue. I have the power to even just stop right now the dance, even if it's 3 minutes into the sun, and leave you hanging out by yourself in the middle of the dance floor, because that's going to be enough punishment for you that no other lady is going to come to dance with you at this moment.
David, as I say, don't underestimate a woman. It's also in the Indian culture as well. You know, we just slap them right across the face and no one would ever say boo. They will get the message loud and clear. I mean, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just picking out the last advice from DJ 𝐴𝐵𝐻𝐼𝐴nkur there, my friend. He says, Paula, can you put that up? It's a very good advice coming in from the comments. Yes. My advice would be to remember that personal safety is above social or dance etiquette. Don't put yourself into a compromising position or stay in one just because you don't want to potentially offend someone. Really brilliant. That's something that David also said, and I genuinely feel very happy that these kind of comments and these kind of advices are coming in from the men folk,
Yeah.
and it just makes my heart so, faith in humanity restored. That sort of a feeling. So, really to such really amazing men out there and who are doing great job, and to support and
Yeah.
watching out. This is really
Absolutely. Men, we appreciate you. Don't think that this is like some war hunt on men. It never was, never will be. We don't walk around with spears in our hand at all. Not on a Friday anyway. So, I want to say, I want to call it a wrap, but before I do, you all know what I do, right? You all know I've been an instructor. You know I've been in the Kizomba environment for over a decade. You know, I'm old school. But one thing I learned, and it took a hell of a lot of 10-year research or whatever you want to call it, but I eventually formed Less is More. And the reason for that is we need it. You know, we need one platform. We need a platform that educates both men and women, not just on the culture, but conversations that we kind of have that we don't really necessarily want to speak out in public. And that's why we have the seminar in place. But I also believe, you know, most of the time, a lot of dance attracts a lot more women, and hence the reason why I do a solo choreography for the women. But in that, I have new artists and I have renowned artists. The thing is, we're growing the community. We can't always have, any teacher out there who's as old as I am, been teaching for as long as I have. You know, our time comes. We've got to lead the way. We've got to get the new path going for the younger generation to explore and carry on this beautiful dance that we love. Any dance that you're doing, salsa, bachata, kizomba, merengue, two-step, whatever you want to do out there. So Less is More is happening, as far as I know, next year on the 28th to the 30th of May in Lisbon. It'll always be in Lisbon because that's the one place we know we're going to guarantee to get hot weather. And men and women are invited. For men, all you have to do is email, and it's at lessismore@gmail.com. But you can also go to the, if you can't find it, certainly do contact any one of us in the team. We're available, and we'll give you all the information. But in terms of booking for ladies, you can go to our website, which is www.lessismorefoundation.com. I don't know if it will come on the bottom there at some point, but it's www.lessismorefoundation. Join us. That's all I'm going to say. Come along, experience it. If it's for you, that's great. Come again. If it's not for you, thank you. It was wonderful for sharing that ride with us, that journey. I think it does. I mean, a lot of women who have been booking already, we have a private WhatsApp group and we tend to have little conversations in there. We already start the conversations, and that's what it's about, is having those narratives, is opening that space and letting people in. So do join us for that one. lessismorefoundation.com. David, we always do this at the end of all of our shows, and I think you need to do it too. I know we let you get away with not wearing the lipstick, but we can't let you get away with doing our part. Okay? So our heart, everybody. Okay, that's lovely. We're going to snapshot that, David, and we're going to make your one bigger, and we're going to shoot it out there and say David is in touch with his feminine side. Right. Folks, it's love from me, love from Ami, love from Paula and Tammy and David, our special guest today. We thank you all for joining us. And we're going to sign out with our Less is More promo video. Whenever you're ready, Paula, I'll shut up and I'll let the video take over. Thank you so much, audience. Remember, you can always keep commenting, and we do pick up your comments, and at some point someone will reply to you. Thank you so much for tonight. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, David. Bless between the women, and see you. Bye.
Living for the moment.